Hey Virgo, welcome to your relationship check-in reading. So if you have someone in your life that you have questions about, this reading should give you a little bit clarity on what's happening between the two of you. So let's jump right on in and start by pulling a couple of cards to see what energy is surrounding this reading for you guys. And the first card out that we have for you is Meow. Having fun, trying to fit in, being playful, modeling after others, being whimsical and free-spirited. Let's pull another and see what other energies are surrounding this relationship check-in reading for my Virgo collective. And what we have for you is love call. Someone expresses love, a message of love, thinking of you and letting you know. All right, Virgos. So what this feels like is that there is someone around you who is trying to find a way in, is what it feels like. And it's almost that sensation of when you see, like, you always hear about like little kids on the playground and there's a little boy that's pulling a little girl's pigtails and, you know, he's basically acting like an irritating ass because he doesn't know what else to do. But that's sort of their way of expressing the fact that they're interested and they want to be around you. So off the break, it's sort of feeling like this is not a person that you are somehow deeply involved with just yet. It feels like this person is relatively new to your space. And if they're not new, it's someone who has not necessarily tried to shoot their shots. It almost feels as though it's someone who is trying to get into your good graces after being super irritating is what's coming through. So let's dig into some tarot and see what other messages we can pull for you. So starting off by looking at this person's purpose in your life. What is their role? We have the sun. And so in reverse. Now, the sun is a very childlike energy. It's very bright. It's very happy. It's very relaxed and new. And I think for a lot of my Virgos out there, that the sun was not necessarily the energy that you've been in when it comes to relationships. And so I do think that part of the reason that this person may be so irritating to you is because you may have kind of sworn off relationships that you have said, you know what, I'm going to put this on pause indefinitely because I'm not getting a return on the investments that I'm putting into these other people. And so I almost feel like you have had a bit of a standoffish energy when it comes to, you know, dealing with other people, especially when it comes to romantic relationships. And this person with the Page of Pentacles seems like they may be on deck to try and pull you out of that energy. So with the Page of Pentacles, this is a card of, you know, a bit of a naive energy. There's not a lot of maturity there, but it is the beginning of an offering of something that is tangible, something that is material. So looking at some sort of level of stability, it's almost like this person is trying to dip their toe a little bit in. And so how this person's energy affects you, we have the Five of Cups. And so this is a card of sort of crying over spilled milk. It's really sort of not seeing what's in front of you, but kind of dwelling on what has been in your life, what experiences that you've already had. And so I think that this person being around may be making you question a little bit whether or not this sort of detachment from relationships or even getting to know people is the right thing for you to do. It's like you may start asking yourself the question, am I missing out on something by being so closed off? Like, am I missing something for, you know, for not just sort of taking a chance and getting to know other people? Now, what we have clarifying that is the Hanged Man in reverse. And so the Hanged Man can be about being in limbo. It can be being about stuck in one place. And I think in terms of your reading, Virgo, they're sort of trying to shake you loose from the romantic rut that you may have been in as of late, even if the approach that they're taking is annoying to you. It's almost like a gnat that's flying around that's trying to force you to move out of where you're currently seated. Now, what are your strengths together as a team? And I kind of like this for you Virgos because what we're seeing is the Devil in reverse and the Moon upright. So I do think that this person's role in your life is really to get you to sort of uncover and address some of the bad habits that you may have picked up in your past interactions with people. So the Devil can be really about anything: codependency, addictions, too much of something, doing things in excess. And so it feels as though, you two combined together really sort of shine a light on your, I don't want to say mistakes, but maybe things that you do in relationships that are not necessarily for your highest good. I do think that you all are able to sort of shine a spotlight on each other and sort of bring those issues to the surface so that they can actually be addressed and not repeated for the next go round. Now, in terms of challenges, and it's interesting, you all's cards are coming out like 2 by 2. So the challenges that you all will face in a partnership, we have the 9 of Pentacles in reverse, and we also have the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. So these cards together do indicate some level of codependency on each other. And it's funny because I think the Taurus card had a little bit of risk of that in their relationship as well. And so there seems to be this sense that one or both of you are not really putting in much effort and you're sort of relying on the other person to carry more of the weight, instead it being a bit of an equitable, sort of back and forth. And so Virgo, I suspect that this might be on your end because of the way this other person is showing up, like this annoying little mouse that's just running around your feet. It's almost like, well, they're doing all the work so they can show me who they are. They can, they can sort of do whatever, because again, you've been in this energy of being checked out of relationships for the most part. And it doesn't feel as though you're particularly inclined to give them a lot of runway to do what they do. So they keep trying, and it feels like a big challenge, should this move forward, is that you might fall into that place of expecting them to always carry the weight. It doesn't feel, Virgo, that you are really giving them any sort of safe harbor. It really feels as though you were kind of looking at them indifferent. Like you have questions like, maybe I'm missing out on something, but it also feels as though your past experiences are not necessarily leading you to the place where you're exploring that to find out if you are missing something or not. So an underlying issue that you all have in your relationship, in your interaction, we have the Knight of Cups to start. So the Knight of Cups is really about someone who is moving forward in order to sort of give that emotion, to give that passion. And I feel like this is a very one-sided type of deal with this other person, Virgo. And we also have the King of Pentacles. So what we're seeing with these two cards, with the Knight of Cups and the King of Pentacles, is that we have one person who is trying to move forward. They're trying to see what can happen if this can turn into a relationship. But we also have someone else who is very focused on their own stability. They're focused on making sure that they're good. And because this isn't the Queen of Pentacles, it doesn't necessarily feel like there's a particularly nurturing energy where the Queen of Pentacles would have that stability. She would have those tangible things in life that she is, by nature of being a queen, is pretty open and willing to share with someone else. I'm not necessarily feeling that from you, Virgo. I think that you're standing in your King of Pentacles energy, making sure that you are sort of keeping your big coin to yourself, making sure that you're taken care of first and foremost. And it's almost like you can see in this image that this king is kind of using their pentacle as a shield, right? They're showing it off like, listen, I'm good. I'm stable. This is what I'm working with over here. This is what I got. You can go and get, is the vibe that's coming out. So Virgo, I'm gonna be honest, I love y'all, but I think that you might be the one standing in the way of any progression in this relationship. And that's not a right thing. It's not a wrong thing. It's just a thing for you right now. So how you can communicate with them. We're starting out with Justice in reverse. Now, Justice, when it's upright, is really about having fairness, having a little bit of balance, having that, sort of like the scales of justice where everything is weighed out and evaluated and sort of equal. I don't know that you can have, if this relationship is not something that you want, Virgo, I don't think that you can be very measured about the conversation. And at the risk of sounding terrible, it feels like if you're not interested in them, then you have to err on the side of harshness. And I don't even want to say harsh, maybe just being super, super blunt and not, sort of being measured and balanced and particularly thoughtful, because it doesn't feel as though this person is going to give up. And if you don't want it to progress with the 8 of Wands, you're going to have to communicate this sooner rather than later. So if this is a person who has, sort of been fluttering and floating around and they're just like, sort of annoying you, they're pulling at your pigtails and you're genuinely not interested in them, you're going to have to say, you know what, listen, you need to stop bothering me. I'm not interested. I'm not going to be interested. I'm good with things where they are. Because if you just sort of ignore them, if you just sort of side eye them, that's not a no. And they're going to keep trying. They're going to keep going. They're going to keep irritating you. And so it feels like there's a level of blunt communication that's going to need to happen if this is not a relationship that you are interested in pursuing. Now, if you like this person chasing you and sort of irritating you and giving you little indications that, they're interested, then by all means, carry on. But I don't necessarily think that that's what you want in this particular instance. So let's pull another card, see what other message Spirit has for us. And what we have is evolution. You realize that obstacles are merely lessons on your path to love. So when it comes to, sort of the way that you approach relationships and things, I think that this situation is less of an obstacle and more of something to sort of add to your list of things that you want or don't want out of someone else. And I think that where in the past, this type of behavior may have been mildly cute or a little bit acceptable, right now it's just annoying to you. And I think that that's part of your evolution in figuring out what it is that you want out of relationships. So having a gnat flying around and irritating you is not what you want. I think that you would much prefer someone just come to you sort of straight and say, hey, look, listen, I'm interested. How do you feel? And then you can have the conversation from that. But this person that's kind of floating around is not particularly doing themselves any favor. It doesn't really feel like you're very interested, Virgo. And if that's the case, then you really do need to have this very blunt sort of one-sided conversation with them. So that's what I got for your relationship check-in, Virgos. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next reading.